Hi, I'm Gary Costanza, and I'd like to thank, first of all, Mike Buchanan and Paul Elam and all the other organizers of the International Conference on Men's Issues 2020, I guess the COVID edition. I'm going to speak a bit about male genital mutilation. I'm here to answer some questions about it, infant genital mutilation, because it is done to girls and boys. I'm going to give some facts, and more than that, I'm here to ask questions and to get you to think and make up your own mind. I'll ask the medical community and parents about what they do, and I'll also ask feminists and women some tough questions, also about gynocentrism and misandry, and how that contributes to the practice of circumcision. Circumcision is just one issue among many that concern men's rights activists and men and boys, but by far it's the most insidious and intractable. Many men and society don't even realize that it is even a question. I mean, the civilized world, we all know about female genital mutilation. We know that's wrong. But why are we not, society and people in general, not making the connection that it is the same harm being done to boys, to infants? Male and female infants should not have their genitals cut, healthy genitals cut, routinely. Let me just give you a little quick overview of how we've come to be doing this in the modern era. John Harvey Kellogg of Kellogg's fame, he thought it would be a good idea to stop boys and girls from sinning by masturbating, and he thought it would be a good idea to get rid of the foreskin and also part of the girls' genitals to remind them when they would get aroused or attempt to masturbate that it would hurt. It would give a lasting memory of this is not good. So this is really how it started in the modern era, to prevent boys from enjoying masturbation and possibly sex. The big question is, why are we still doing it? Yes, there are thousands of us intactivists out there worldwide, and most of the world doesn't do this to their boys or girls. It's just a few first world countries that still practice this routinely for not even a religious reason. Many other countries in the world do continue to do this, but for religious reasons, and that's allowed. But here in this country, Canada, Australia, namely, they're routinely doing it to boys for no religious reason or medical reason. Why are we still doing it? Why is it so easy to continue this horror? It's the perfect storm of ignorance and secret atrocities, forgotten and hidden from its victims. We don't know it happened. Most boys are not told. Almost all boys are not told what happened to them. If they do ever find out, they hear it from other people or research on their own, or they notice a scar on their penis. That's how I noticed. Ever since I could remember, I remember looking at my penis and noticing that looks strange. I mean, scars don't look normal. Skin should have the same skin tone throughout, and here's this mottled, sort of scarry looking tissue on my penis, and I'm saying that doesn't look normal. What is with this? No, nobody ever told me. So we don't know it happened. The other reason is we don't know normal anatomy and what we've lost. No, it's still a taboo subject, talking about sex, especially genitals of men. In this society, this gynocentric society, which I'll speak about later, we relish, we salute the female form. We cherish it. Why else does this continue? There's a cover-up and there's ignorance of medical fraud, because that's what it is. There's no medical reason for it. It's a money grab, of course, because they sell foreskins. They get many thousands of dollars per foreskin. It's unspoken, as I said, because it's sexual and barbaric. I've said this before. It continues because the baby can't fight back. The baby won't remember. And the baby won't sue. This other thing is religious ritual. We allowed it to happen, even today, even though it's harmful. It's obviously harmful. And then, of course, tradition. We do what we've always done. And in general, we don't question what we've been doing, although some are. Regarding gynocentrism and the supposed patriarchy, if this is a patriarchy, and men are controlling this society for their benefit, well, we're not really doing it right, are we? Because we're cutting off our own penises, parts of our own penises. So that can't be beneficial for men or boys in general. I want this to be a wake-up call for men and boys, especially boys. I think they should get active to help save themselves and their brothers and future sons from this harm, this unnecessary harm. Girls do it all the time. I mean, feminists try to get young women involved in the cause to help women. Now, we've got to do this with boys. I have to say, I'm going to outline it here, but most boys, most men are mostly selfless and honest. Hence, we accept most anything that's selfless, protective, and harmful. Our job as men and boys generally are to protect society and women, but it's frowned upon to try to protect ourselves. That is looked upon as selfish, but there's nothing wrong with protecting yourselves. I've written an article about whether it's legal or not, circumcision. I believe it is not, because the Constitution and our Declaration of Independence encodes protection of the body, of protection from abuse from others or harm from others. And this is the most blatant form of abuse that anybody could endure. As a baby, a defenseless baby, being cut up for no medical reason. So my conclusion is, yes, it is illegal, but my other question that goes with it is, does it matter? I mean, it doesn't seem to matter. Unless people get a change of heart about this, which that is happening. There was a much higher rate of circumcision in the first world, but that is going down because people are realizing it's wrong. There are activists out there that are spreading the word, and little by little, the circumcision rate is going down in this country. I believe at one point it was 85%. Now I believe it's down to 55% in general, which some areas of the country are higher levels and some areas are lower levels. It sort of evens out to about this 55%, and many of us think that tipping point is coming where it's going to be below 50% at some point, and then, at that point, no one's going to be making fun of a boy because he's got a foreskin, because he'll be in the majority. Why do we consider FGM, female genital mutilation, to be much worse than male genital mutilation? Well, of course, when you hear about FGM, they're not doing it here in this country. They're doing it out in the outskirts of civilization, where things are not clean, and these operations are done just like male genital mutilation. It's done for no reason. It's just a ritualistic thing, a tradition that people believe is good for the baby or the boy or the girl, but it's obviously not. But why we see it as a horror is because it is done so primitively in these outback areas of the world where females their genitals are cut with generally not sterilized instruments and in poor conditions, and of course by untrained people. So, of course, it's going to be a totally terrible outcome. But now, all of a sudden, now if you want to do it to boys and you want to make it palatable by society, you have it done in a hospital by people wearing lab coats and with sterilized instruments and a more or less prescribed manner of doing it, whereas penises aren't being cut off left and right, where it's mostly safe. But we do know that boys do die of this. At least 100 boys die every year of this due to complications. It's not to say that there's nothing horrendous about the plain fact of removing healthy tissue from healthy functioning organs. Now, of course, if we started doing female genital mutilation, under sanitary conditions, I guess it would become more palatable, but it won't be, because we don't have this mindset that girls' genitals are dirty or need to be fixed. We have the mindset that male genitals are dirty and need to be fixed, which is wrong. Okay, I'm just going to outline some of my main talking points and some of the signs that I use when I go out protesting circumcision. Sometimes these little sayings or mottos or words of wisdom or protest signs or slogans, they're short and succinct and to the point. And in that way, they are very profound. So do the research. Don't listen to what I say. Boys, go out there. See what was done to you. See what a normal penis should look like. Of course, there's no medical reason for circumcision. The foreskin has evolved to protect the penis and keep it lubricated, and to facilitate intercourse with women. It's evolved over thousands of years. All mammals have a foreskin. This foreskin protects the head of the penis. If you look at a normal penis, which I haven't ever seen in person, my penis should be normal, but it's not. Somebody cut a part of an important part of my penis off. So now what I have is an exposed head of the penis that's dried out, leathery. Thank goodness it doesn't bother me that much, because many men and boys have constant pain because of a botched circumcision. But, ultimately, actually, all circumcisions are botched because they're unnecessarily taking off important parts of the body. The foreskin has by far the most sensory nerve endings of any part of the body, male or female. 20,000 nerve endings are in the foreskin. And the pleasure that it gives to men is indescribable. I mean, just as good as a female orgasm. But I've never known that, and I will never know that. They took that away from me for no reason. You don't have the right to do this. I did not consent. That's all I need to say right there. Babies are literally screaming out for help. How is that not a jarring term to hear? Babies die of this every year. As I said, at least 100 babies die of this every year. A lot of times it's because undiagnosed problems that we should not be performing surgery on a newborn baby, because maybe they have a blood clotting disease. So the biggest problem with this is that there's no consent. We don't really need to outlaw circumcision, because it does have its place. And I mean, if somebody, when they're old enough to decide that they want to have this surgery, I mean, people have surgery for all sorts of crazy reasons that are not logical, but people do have the right to do this to themselves if they so choose to. But the point is that a baby cannot consent. The good news, it's optional. You don't have to cut your child's penis. So this should not be a big moral dilemma where it's bothering you that you don't know which way to go. First off, if you don't know which way to go, don't do it, because it's irreversible. You could kill your child. Many times when I'm out protesting, I say, save your baby, save your own baby. They don't care about your baby. They don't even know your baby. Do you think they don't care about your baby like you do? And if your baby dies, you know what they say? They say, well, you consented. Wow. Is that what happens now? Boys and girls are born perfect. No alterations needed. Evolution doesn't make mistakes. This is really crazy. I'm a school bus driver, a retired postal worker, but now I transport school children. I love kids, and society loves children. And I was going to make this point at my local legislature because I plan on giving a speech there. But all baby boys are put through this meat grinder, okay? When I look at some of the children that I transport or that I see at the school, there's a lot of special needs children. And many of us are touched by special needs children for all different diagnoses, autism, all different disabilities. So imagine this. One of your precious autistic children, we don't know he's autistic yet, but he's 2 days old. We don't know yet what challenges he's going to be facing in the future. But you're going to take this still unknown special needs child and strap him down, okay? He's already confused about the world because of his special needs, possibly. But you're going to strap him down into a circumstraint, sticking a probe into his penis? That's exactly what they do. There's very little anesthesia. They stick a pointy object like a compass, like a pick. They stick it in to the penis so they could maneuver it around the penis. There's where the circum part of circumcision comes in. They circumcise around it with this piece, ripping the foreskin off of the head of the penis. So imagine doing this horrible thing to your special needs child. And we are doing it. You did it. Animals are treated better than baby boys. Declawing was banned in New York State. Foie gras was banned in San Francisco. This is a huge issue. Okay? Yes, we are humane to our pets more than our own baby boys. Do you realize what's going on? They've banned, like I said, foie gras, where they force feed geese with, I guess, fattening foods to fatten them up so that we have some kind of special delicacy. Okay, they deemed that was inhumane. And New York has deemed it inhumane to declaw cats. Okay? Very good. Excellent. Now what are you going to do for baby boys? In the time of COVID, this was my sign. I made a contemporary sign about don't waste resources. Don't hurt children. Don't circumcise. Because that was the law for a while. I don't even know if it's in effect now, but in other words, don't waste medical resources on unnecessary surgeries. And that was in effect for a while. And we all here in the intactivist community said, all right, maybe some boys are going to be saved from this. Actual lives saved. Please don't hurt my baby. My protest signs are profound. So let these thoughts sink in. Circumcision violates human rights. No doubt about it. This baby, this boy, this human, remember, baby boys are human. Humans. They deserve human rights. They deserve to have bodily integrity and protection from abuse, especially state-sponsored abuse or abuse brought on by our own family, our own society. Outrageous. Do no harm means no circumcision. That's the doctor's motto, right? First, do no harm. So that's what I'm here to say. Do no harm means no circumcision. That is harmful. This is one of my best signs that I've ever come up with. Mommy, what circumcision? Was I defective? That is my favorite sign, and I love to take it in and among families, festivals, gatherings where children are, because really, what goes hand in hand with that saying is, why the secrecy? Own circumcision or denounce it. I'm here to tell you what was done to you boys, men, and why are we still doing it, and should we still be doing it, okay? Really, boys, girls even. Girls know about this. They hear about this from feminism, that there's such a thing as female genital mutilation, and that's taught in schools, rightly so. But we're doing this to boys. We're also doing this to intersex babies. Intersex babies are babies born with both male and female genitals, of varying degrees. And routinely, these intersex babies are on the spot determined to be female or male by cutting off the unwanted genitals. Us in the intactivist community believe that leave intersex babies alone, leave boy babies alone, leave girl babies alone. There should be no surgery, corrective surgery, unless there's a disease or a true deformity that's harmful. When I say, Mommy, what circumcision? Was I defective? I want an answer to that. When I go out and I ask this question of people, they look at me in horror like there's children here. Yeah, exactly my point. Why the secrecy? Is it because you're talking about penises? Well, you tell kids from an early age what's the right touch and a bad touch, where you don't want kids to be abused sexually. But this is sexual abuse, and I'll say it later. It is sexual abuse with maiming. I mean, all of a sudden, a pedophile puts on a lab coat and starts manipulating your penis, and even worse, cutting part of it off. How is that not unethical and immoral and illegal? As I say, I want to answer to the question, was I defective? And boys should know that they were not defective. And why were they cut? There was no reason to do it. Intact genitals are a human right. Circumcision, the worst kind of bullying. Because in 2020, it's very important that we protect our children from abuse and bullying. Yet, this is the worst kind of bullying. His body, his choice. Sound familiar? Equal rights for boys. Circumcision is medical fraud. It's medical fraud because there's no medical reason for it. There is currently a push, of course, of circumcisers, pro-circumcision people who want to keep the money coming in, and just so that they don't want to be looked upon as being on the wrong side of history, which they will be looked that way. But they are still hanging on to different reasons to keep circumcising. So the latest thing was supposedly that it helps prevent the spread of HIV. But that study was never finished because they were finding out that it wasn't doing it. And, in some of our protests, our saying is this: condoms, not cutting. I mean, are you saying that if we are circumcising boys, that they can go out and have unprotected sex and have some kind of immunity against get a small, greater amount of immunity from spreading or getting HIV? I mean, what amount would be worthwhile? Of course, no amount would be worthwhile because you're supposed to be wearing condoms to prevent sexually transmitted diseases and pregnancy. Of course you're going to use a condom. So it's irrelevant whether or not you have a circumcision. European doctors condemn circumcision. There's been a number of countries over in Europe that are trying to ban circumcision, and it's actually happened here in this country because we get it over here, except we are slower to get it because we've had such this crazy tradition of doing it that it's so ingrained in us. In San Francisco, there was a bill to ban ritual circumcisions, but it passed, but then it was rescinded by the governor, I believe, because religious groups were incensed. They didn't want to hear it. Germany, Denmark, Sweden, I believe, are in the process of banning ritual circumcision. My body belongs to me. Sound familiar? Stony Brook Hospital. This is a hospital local to me, and that I'm able to go protest because it's part of a public university system. So I'm able to bring my signs right up to the hospital, and some of them are specific. Here's a couple specific about Stony Brook. Their saying is advanced medicine. So my protest sign, in quotes, advanced medicine doesn't include circumcision. No, it doesn't. Circumcision is barbaric. It's at the medieval times, and a so-called modern hospital is performing this? Outrageous. I went to this hospital. You could find some of my protest videos on my YouTube channel, Jerry the Other, with a J, no spaces. So I went into this hospital because I wanted to report what I think is child abuse going on in the hospital, because they actually have a child abuse coordinator of the hospital. And I wanted to speak to that person. I did call up one time about it, and I did go in person. And she was listening to me, this person. It wasn't the child abuse coordinator, but I went in and I said I wanted to report this child abuse. And she asked me, like, can you give me a name? Who's being abused, who's doing it? I said, I don't have a specific name, but I know it's going on in this hospital. It's child abuse. You're strapping down newborn babies against their will, and somebody's fondling their genitals and actually cutting part of it off for no medical reason. Is that not the definition of child abuse? And, it's just so obvious. Please try to do these things as I'm doing them, because you make a difference. You can make a difference. Stony Brook, here's my other sign about Stony Brook. Stony Brook sells babies' body parts, foreskins. Absolutely true. They don't throw away these foreskins. Do they? When they sell these foreskins, because they are used, believe it or not, look it up. They make facial creams for women. Oprah was selling these creams. Outrageous. Can you believe this humanitarian that we think Oprah is, which she is, but so many people just don't get it when it comes to this. Facial creams at the expense of baby boys' lives, actually. You know, baby boys' foreskins, they need their own foreskins. And I believe some of these foreskins are sold. They use them for research. And I guess also to help in burn victims, possibly. I'm not sure, but they're used for research. But yes, it's obvious that these foreskins are a valuable commodity and a wonderful commodity, a wonderful organ. But the baby boy should keep it. Circumcision is genital mutilation and sexual abuse of children. Circumcision is cruelty to boys. Here's a great one. I got this from, I think, Your Whole Baby. That's another great organization. Look that up, Your Whole Baby. Peace begins at birth. What a wonderful sentiment. It's absolutely true. I try to tell people when I go protesting, peace begins at birth. Do you want to declare war on your child within days of being born? That baby is so vulnerable, and you're gonna strap him down and torture him. It really is torture and trauma, and mutilation and maiming. You know, peace begins at birth. This kind of trauma affects the mother-child bond, and you know, psychologically and subconsciously, what is this doing to baby boys? Do we have any research as to what this does to boys in general and men in general? Does it make them more violent? Do we know? I mean, why are we doing this without any research? You know, actually, there was research that was planned on being done about different methods of circumcision. This was in the United States. And so, before it even got started, it got stopped because people thought it would be unethical to have different methods, you know, side by side of circumcision. Let's say maybe a control group that didn't get circumcised, then a full circumcision, then a half circumcision, and then different methods using scalpels and then using the plastibell and the Mogen clamp, all these different ways. You know, yeah, when you look at it that way, it sounds barbaric. Well, it is barbaric. You know, you would say that it's unethical to, they did deem this unethical, this study, because it was going to be, you know, publicized and, you know, talked about that. Look, all these babies were lined up and this one was done this way, that done that way. And no, they'd rather have this done in secret and under closed doors. It's not that they care about the babies. They just want this to be hushed up. They don't want any research. Genitals shouldn't come with scars. Here's a meme that I made up a while back. This is just perfect. Here it goes. Picture a beautiful little baby boy. And here's the meme. Here's the text. You don't drink alcohol or smoke. You eat right and take prenatal vitamins. You don't take harmful drugs or painkillers. But soon after your baby is born, you cut, crush, and amputate with excruciating pain and trauma part of your baby's genitals. Huh? No, I'm going to show a picture of this. You got to see this. This was a great sign I had. This was a sign I was carrying along with a circumstraint, okay? The sign said, with an arrow pointing at the circumstraint, voted worst holiday gift. And there's an arrow pointing to the circumstraint. Here's another one. I attended a protest where they had a candlelight vigil for babies who died, okay? So I said, I'm going to go. This was Stony Brook, of course. Whenever a Stony Brook thing is happening, I go there because I want these professionals to know. And lay people and the general public to know what's going on and what we should do to stop it. So I went to this candlelight vigil and I had a sign that said, "Light a candle for babies killed by circumcision." Here's just a few thoughts. Injustice is recognized and experienced and remembered by people, but what happens to baby boys are unknown and hidden from those victims. Hence, no big movement or protesting in the streets. The unknown and hidden Holocaust against children. Almost all don't know they are victims. All who have died certainly don't know, partly because most still have okay sex with climax, so we think it's okay, and because they don't know what normal sex is like. Ignorance and frankly disgust toward a normal penis with its foreskin. Some of you, even some men's rights activists, may not agree with the banning of routine circumcision of babies. But the whole point, you'd be wrong in that way, but the whole point is it's not your penis, okay? This is a baby's penis that he has the right to keep intact. You have no say over it, just like parents don't have a say or doctors have a say over whether this boy has an intact penis and a normal sexual life. One sex needed an outie for reproduction, hence the penis. Evolution did this. So it falls to men to have a penis. It's special. And as an outie, it's more at risk. But more important, like men's role to initiate, procreate, we literally have to stick out. Our necks, our egos, our penises. And so more vulnerable. Evolution provided the eye with eyelids, just as the penis was provided with the foreskin. Sure, there can be problems with any organ, but as a vital part of the penis and sexual pleasure and function, we don't remove it just because it's out there and vulnerable to problems. Breasts are out there and contain fatty tissue that is also vulnerable, more than the foreskin, to disease. Yet we don't remove them routinely. Unfortunately, doctors and other ignorant people don't know its purpose, function, and form. Doctors are harming and scarring intact boys by forced foreskin retraction, to say nothing of outright removal of the foreskin. Evolution made it to give pleasure and protection and to facilitate sexual reproduction with built-in lubrication. Female lubrication is only half of what human and mammalian intercourse has evolved into. We've all heard about pussy power. And the vagina is great, but so is the penis. It's got an enormous job to do, and it's well designed to do it. Yet, when we circumcise, we remove its most important part, pleasure and ease of intercourse. The foreskin has an inner and outer wall that folds upon itself, keeping the head moist and smooth, like it's designed to be. The penis having a foreskin, yes, it's an outie. Yes, it can have medical issues because, when you have a human organ, it's liable to have issues. Whether you clean it, whether it gets damaged, the penis and foreskin is an outie. So it can get damaged. It can be misused or mishandled or not taken care of properly. So there, just as with any other organ, we have eyelids to protect the eyes. Eyelids can get diseased. Breasts can get diseased. Vaginas, cervixes can get diseased. But these are important organs that we need, that we evolved with. So these extra special organs, vaginas, penises, foreskins, breasts, eyes, eyelids, they are special and important organs that need protection. Yes, they are vulnerable. We would not remove them just because we want to avoid any problems with them. Men must still wear the male uniform, suit and tie. Short hair, no fussing allowed. I guess to keep us ready for any dirty, difficult, or dangerous job or war. So nothing must get in the way. My aunt actually said it's better circumcised to enable men to go to war and not have a foreskin to worry about or take care of. I guess men are the utility needed by women in society, so no luxuries for them. Yes, good, nice things require more attention and care. And long hair or a foreskin are two of those things. Long after men's brush with a semblance of equal respect and accommodation by society, boys' penises and hair are routinely cut by ignorant male code enforcers. Why the fuck do parents cut boys' hair so short? It looks better long for most people. With all those ears sticking out, duh. Why do you think girls do it? And why do you think they look better than boys? No girls walk around with crew cuts because it looks shitty. So why are boys forced to? Is it moms unconsciously enforcing the boy code? Why low cut and sleeveless blouses? Why, if women have so much to hide and are offended or embarrassed, if someone or some man sees these breasts or more, then why are they the ones showing it off way more than men? They are playing a game with men. Look, but not too much, or we'll shame you. We'll tempt you, but if we don't like you, we'll also shame you. Also, we'll play Miss Innocent, pretending we don't know what we're knowingly doing, flaunting their flesh, shaming men for looking, and pretending going braless or pantyless is for their comfort. Comfort. Why high heels, skirts? Why thongs? So no panty line. First, who said their pants must be so tight that you can even see panty lines? Them. So now they have another problem, men seeing their panty lines. So thongs for all. What's so wrong with panty lines? So they have even young girls wearing thongs to avoid panty lines, and with their mother's permission. And this is all on women. They've embraced their almost limitless freedoms to convince themselves that it's men who's doing this. Gee, men don't have these problems, as we don't wear skin-tight clothes that bring all these other things. Men looking, panty lines, rashes, jeans that don't fit, etc. I say all this to show men and women are different in their sex roles. Men as initiators, the consequences of women being visual sexual stimulators. Testosterone. Like it or not, this is how we've evolved. So the penis is an extraordinary organ, not just a hard-on with a flap of skin. Lubrication. Okay, I don't really know. I don't have a foreskin. How would I know? But I do know that lubrication is lacking when I have sex. Bingo. Maybe sex would be longer and more pleasurable, thus more time before climax. Think gliding, not rubbing, and therefore, contrary to popular belief, lasting longer. Climax wouldn't be the only goal or the fixation on lasting longer, with the ride more enjoyable, as it is for women. But what I do know now, my penis is totally dry. I don't even know what a normal penis looks like. Are the sex drive equal? Who knows? I'm starting to question all these things. I always assumed that from the 60s, we're equal. Men and women are equal. We have equal sex drives and all that. But, actually, I really don't know. Feminists could be wrong, no surprise. Since erections were needed, arousal was needed. As a child of the 60s, we embraced civil rights and equality of the sexes, assuming we were equal. But is that totally true? Men have far greater levels of testosterone and have the erectable organ needed for procreation. And so have men evolved to be the initiators and maybe have the greater interest in sex? Is this why men are so visually stimulated by females than the other way around? These are questions we should research. So much for equality. Yes, there is individual variations. I'm talking in general concerning foreskin in females. It's not yours. You don't have to like it. We've learned to love, even crave, your female parts. We can do the same with our intact male parts. We love to please you and your parts. And you can likewise embrace and enjoy pleasing us and our parts. American women, get over your foreskin hang-up. You wouldn't like it, even call it misogynistic, if men called your vagina bad names, right? What can you do? Write letters to the editor, call radio stations, write articles and op-eds. Donate to AVFM, NCFM, ARC Law, Bloodstained Men, Intaction, Intact PAC, Intact America. Speak out about infant genital cutting, including intersex babies, in your own YouTube videos. Protest with the Bloodstained Men or on your own with signs out in public and record it for YouTube. It's free. Research circumcision and express to family and friends what you know and believe about circumcision. This shouldn't even be a thing. Circumcision was meant to deaden sexual pleasure in boys and men and to curtail masturbation, the same reasons that are used in female genital cutting. This is the lowest hanging fruit, so to speak, of human rights violations and men's and boys' rights. Buy a bumper sticker. Put it on your car. That'll get conversations going. Really, man, all you intactives out there should get a bumper sticker and put it on your bumper. Get the conversation started. That's what I love about when I protest out in public with my signs. Whether or not I'm in person with people where I can speak to them, on highways where there's automobile traffic. It's amazing that I know that people are looking at the signs and they're going to discuss it amongst themselves. They're going to say, gee, what's that guy's sign say? Oh, circumcision. I agree with him. Or that guy's nuts. The conversation is started in that car. There's doubt. There's a seed growing inside of people, especially if there's children in the car. Mommy, what's circumcision? Was I defective?